Maybe a couple of years ago you were largely downloading music, but today you're streaming it. Or maybe you're now considering that you're not using cable as much as you used to, and can you get by simply with an internet connection to go watch Game of Thrones or House of Cards? Whatever it might be, these new experiences are topical because they are all experiences that involve our day-to-day living. One of my last favorites was I was talking with Willie Tejada, who is our general manager of our cloud networking business. He said he bought his older parents an iMac just in the recent past simply to have them have basically video chat to his kids so they would know them better. This is a very exciting world in which we live, and the new experiences of today that didn't exist a couple of years ago are going to evolve yet again tomorrow. Now, these experiences are also bringing with them new challenges. We have DDoS attacks up more than 130% year over year. As Tom pointed out yesterday, the average web page is taking longer to download, not a shorter amount of time, because its page weight is actually increasing, not decreasing. Video is not getting easier to deliver. The workflow that exists in delivering 4 or 5 nines of expectation around video on the internet is not as easy. At least it's not as easy just yet as delivering it over cable. But it's going to get there. It's going to have to get there because of the demand for end users to deliver that kind of experience, that richness of experience that they expect. And of course, we might look at the needs of all of us as enterprises out in the branch office, perhaps, where I simply want way more bandwidth than I can get today. I want it for digital signage. I want it for kiosking. I want it for consumer Wi-Fi, whatever it might be. And that is going to help drive an overall network transformation. That network transformation is going to require new ways of thinking about and utilizing the cloud, hybrid cloud, and the internet overall. So these new challenges then, along with those new experiences, are going to deliver a new set of requirements that we, Akamai, and all of you as our customers are going to be expected to deliver to your end users. And those new requirements are going to be, for us, in the area of ensuring the scale, speed, reliability, security of our platform. They are going to be in delivering a product portfolio that meets your ongoing needs. They are going to be in giving you a whole new level of control of the Akamai system so that you can engage and interact with it directly and integrate it into your respective environments. And finally, it's going to be about our people jointly in working together to deliver these kinds of experiences to end users. So it's about new experiences. It's about addressing new challenges that are coming at us fast. And it is about delivering against a new set of requirements that is causing us to want to rethink what the CDN is and what its capabilities will be and what we expect them to be going forward for today and tomorrow. Okay, so with that as my introduction, what we're going to do for the next 40 minutes or so is to go through this model covering essentially these 4 pillars of our overall strategy at Akamai vis-a-vis our platform and products. First one is around platform. Second, around products. Thirdly, around our control and control plane, our Luna Control Center, and our open platform. And then finally, around people. And I promise you, I'm going to bring a few other people up along the way so you don't have to listen to me talk that whole time. Let me begin, though, with platform. Customers often ask me, what is your real differentiator? You've got increasing competition in the market. What is your differentiator? Why Akamai? And I'm responsible for the product portfolio. Of course, Bobby Blumoff is responsible for our underlying platform. But my answer always begins with the platform. Platform is the core. We have more than 200,000 servers. They're in more than 3,000 locations. across 1,400 networks, more than 110 countries at this point. The distributed nature of our platform is what makes us largely unique. And it is because of that platform being delivered to end users around the globe such that we structure it so that 90% of the end users on the planet have access to an Akamai Edge server within 20 milliseconds that enables us to deliver the kind of speed that your end customers expect. And they expect it more and more and more because the demands on that network are ever growing. So this gives us a scale that is continuing to grow in a substantial way, and as we continue to build it, gives your end users, your end customers, more capability. There's another thing that we're doing as well that is especially important, which we think of as extending the edge. And the concept here is that if we hit anything like those numbers Tom was talking about yesterday, those numbers of not 340 terabits per second or 600 terabits per second, 25,000 terabits per second by the end of the decade, wherever it is in that spectrum, it's big, and it's a lot bigger than it is today. So we're going to need to continue to grow it. But the answer can't be to grow that platform linearly. Can't just, we will, of course, continue to buy servers, but we can't just buy servers at the same rate or an increasing rate linearly as we've done so far. The expectation is that we have to integrate our edge into more other kinds of devices, more other capabilities. We want to be in the end device, in the mobile device, as an example, in the television, perhaps. We want to be in the home. And by being in the home, we get access to an ability to deliver higher quality video. We deliver faster websites. We deliver deduplicated content by leveraging various technologies. We've integrated already through LCDN, MCDN, into carrier networks. We have integrated into enterprise environments through what we're doing with Cisco and what we will deliver through our cloud-connected branch solutions as we look ahead. So extending the edge enables us to get more penetration and broader distribution more rapidly than we can do simply by building the network ourselves. But we have to do both. And the next piece of it is, of course, as Tom often says, has to be fast, reliable, and secure. So let's start with speed. Well, for many years, we've had a fast network over broadband connections in the overall carrier environments with which we operate. But that is extending to mobile devices rapidly. And so the result of it is that we now are integrating into the mobile internet gateways. Well, we have integrated already into 99% or so of the cellular mobile, the mobile carriers. But what's more interesting is that we then go to drive that to integrate into the mobile core. As we get into the mobile core, which we've now done with on the order of, say, 50 cellular carriers, that is accelerating websites by on the order of 45% simply by being in that mobile core. So that integration into the mobile carriers is very critical. So fast, getting faster amidst web pages getting slower on their own is a critical tenet of our platform evolution. Reliability. Well, knock on wood, I suppose, but we haven't had a system-wide outage in over a decade, and that means that our network has been operating at close to 5 nines during this period of time. That is incredible reliability. Other CDNs, other participants are going to try to scale their network. They're going to run through all the growing pains that we went through in the early days. From our standpoint, it's there, it's bulletproofed, it's reliable, and we expect to keep it that way. We do more than 215 million DNS requests every minute. We do more than 96 million pings. We handle more than 2 million BGP routes every minute. The numbers are staggering. The scale exists. The reliability is there, and it's proven. And finally is security. Well, we spend a lot of time, as you know, on securing our solutions through Kona Site Defender, Prolexic Routed, but we also spend a lot of time securing our platform. It's really critical, and we look at over 32 billion rows of data through our systems every 2 minutes. 32 billion rows of data every couple of minutes on our network. And every 12 hours or so, we inspect or evaluate over 300 million unique IP addresses for potential attack threats. So again, security, a core tenet. So the point of this session on platform is simply to say that you don't have to think about it very often, but we think about it a lot. And that platform is the core foundation for everything else we do, to make it, to build it to be fast, reliable, and secure at enormous scale. And we're very excited about that. All right. Now to move on to talk about products. So where are we in the product portfolio? Well, I'm going to cover with that platform at the foundational level at the bottom. I'm going to go through each of these in relatively rapid succession. Web experience, cloud security, media, cloud networking, and network operator, essentially our 5 core solution sets. And we'll talk a little bit about that control plane up on top with Luna. So let me begin with web experience or web performance. Now, to help me in this journey, I am going to ask Ash Kulkarni, our new general manager of the Web BU, to join me on stage. Please welcome Ash.
Hi, Rick.
Ash?
Thank you.
So Ash, as you know from Tom's story yesterday, actually didn't just perform better for websites, saved actually a life yesterday, which was a good thing. This is a terrific experience. What caused you to come to Akamai? Why are you here? How is it going for the first 2 months? And remember, you're in front of a couple thousand people, so just think about your answer in that context.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's
don't screw it up. Don't get it right yet. Go.
The pressure is clearly on. This is the fun part about being new. But honestly, when I looked at Akamai, it was all based on my own experiences. I'm seeing the web becoming such a dominant part of everything that we do in our lives today. So in my past role, I saw how cloud computing is dramatically changing how we consume business applications. I saw how mobile computing is dramatically changing every bit of our own experiences at home and how we consume services. So to me, Akamai was in the middle of just about everything that drives the web. And so it was a no-brainer. When I saw this opportunity, I was ecstatic, and so far in these last 2 months, I've been loving every minute of it.
Fabulous. That sounds like a good start. Very well done. Let's look at some of the stats up here. And by the way, you're going to see a similar format across the solution sets in terms of what's happening in the industry, what are our core tenets or focal areas. But let's start with the challenges that you think our customers are faced with in web experience.
I think the biggest challenge that I've heard in the conversations that I've had with customers, in the customer advisory board, for example, 2 days ago, is still performance. It seems like performance this year is even more important than it was last year. And I think a big part of this you touched upon, Tom touched upon it, the size of web pages seems to be growing. The complexity of web pages is growing. And so irrespective of what we are doing in terms of adding bandwidth capacity, it's still not enough. So everything and anything that you can do for accelerating performances is becoming paramount. So customers seem to be struggling with that. The second area seems to be all about making sure that things are secure. That's a big part of the discussion that I seem to be having with a lot of customers. And then the last thing is this notion that as web pages get more and more complex, how do you get more operationally agile? How do you deliver simplicity? Those are probably the 3 topmost conversation points that I'm having with customers in terms of their challenges.
All right, very good. So let's go to our few core tenets of your strategy as you've developed it over the last couple of months, evolving from where we were before. So in the areas of mobile, API acceleration, operational simplicity. Let's start with mobile. So what are your observations in mobile, and specifically, what are our core strategies in that area?
Probably the most interesting observation is the fact that according to our customers and a lot of our commerce customers, they've already reached that inflection point where as much as half of their consumer traffic is now coming to them on mobile devices. So that's a big change for them. Whereas in the past, mobile was one of many things that they needed to think about. Now mobile performance is probably the most important aspect of what they're having to worry about. And what's interesting here is people are still starting to really understand and appreciate how to measure in the best way possible performance on mobile devices, especially on cellular networks where you're bandwidth constrained and where the experience can be really bad if you don't have good acceleration. So the use of RAM data and other things are starting out to be new, but that's a big area of focus for Akamai, obviously, because this is the #1 priority for most of our customers that I'm talking to.
Yeah, I'm struck by some of the stats on Black Friday as an example from the prior few years, which we look at every year, whereas a few years ago, 20% of access to the web was on a mobile device. A couple of years ago, it was 30. Last year, it was 40. This year, I'm sure it's going to be greater than 50. Yep. And outside the United States, it's typically even higher.
It's even higher. And one of our customers just told me today morning, they're on their mobile app, their native mobile app. They seem to be growing the traffic that they're getting on that mobile app by 2x every 3 months. That was just a staggering statistic. He mentioned that they're at about 18% of all their traffic coming today on their mobile app, which is amazing.
I saw a statistic from Ericsson recently that showed over the last year, mobile data was up by more than 50%.
Yeah.
Let's move on in the interest of time to API acceleration. This is a new area, not one that we talked about at last year's Edge. Relatively new probably to this audience, and yet probably very top of mind.
So my sense is that everybody in the audience has been working on APIs, working with APIs for a while. We just have not really talked about it. Though Akamai has been doing a lot in this area. So every application is being re-platformed in a way. When you talk about native mobile applications, they are using RESTful web APIs. When you talk about SaaS applications, cloud-based business computing apps, those all are built using RESTful APIs under the covers. So we are seeing the patterns of traffic on our network change dramatically. So in the past, it used to be mostly HTTP traffic. Now it's literally half and half. There's as much API traffic on the Akamai platform as there is HTML on HTTP. And with that shift, there's a huge opportunity as people are starting to appreciate what Akamai can do to help them accelerate, govern all of these APIs. I think that's going to be an amazing set of capabilities that we can offer to this audience.
Yeah, I mean, I seem on my mobile device to be using mobile apps much more than, say, website access, which is requiring that acceleration. Bring us home on operational simplicity. What's on your mind there? So Tom showed fast purge yesterday and the criticality of that, but what about some of the other areas as well?
Well, from everything that I understand, this has been a big area of focus for all our customers. I know we talked about sub 5-second fast purge.
Yep.
We are going to be delivering sub 5-minute metadata activation. But really, for us, the goal is there are multiple goals in this area. One, to make sure that you can have complete control and do self-service provisioning of all the services that you're using from Akamai. And more importantly, it's not just about how quickly you can get started and provision, but also making sure that some of the difficult parts of what you need to do, handling images, for example, doing business logic on the edge through cloudlets, we want to make sure that we can make that as seamless for our customers as possible. So these are also big areas of focus for us in the next year.
Perfect. OK, just one last thing. I know that you're going to cover the product portfolio in your breakout session to come later today, but any final pieces of advice, counsel for our customers?
I would say I'll touch upon 3 points. So the first is when it comes to mobile performance, I think everybody in the audience here appreciates how important a part of your end consumer experience that is. Really focus on, when you look at performance, really focus on that aspect. I still hear that a lot of people do testing with, do synthetic testing primarily with a desktop focus, which might not be indicative of what your customers are experiencing. The second thing I'd say is, reliability matters. Right? We know it intrinsically. We often tend not to think too much about it, but to be close to 5 nines, that is amazing. And we really need to put some effort into defining what that means from a business perspective. What is the impact of not having that kind of reliability? If you don't have that kind of reliability, you pay for it in significant ways, in other ways down the line. And so really think about that. And the last thing I would say is security. So Akamai has spent a lot of energy on making our network about as secure as you can make it. And one exciting thing that I wanted to touch upon in this area is the work that we're doing with Let's Encrypt. So we are a foundational member with Let's Encrypt. We really want to make sure that the web is extremely secure, that people are using SSL. And part of what we are doing with Let's Encrypt is going to give our customers the ability to have DV certs provisioned and out on the network without any manual intervention, which is going to be huge in terms of self-service and in overall making your sites more secure.
So true self-serviceability, I'll be able to do it even myself.
I will make sure that the PMs use you as our first charter customer, and Bob will negotiate a great contract for you.
or use Bob. You can use Bob and me as our two guinea pigs. Thanks very much, Ash.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Ash Kulkarni. All right, hitting our stride, business unit or solution set number 2, cloud security. So we've talked a lot about this, but at the end of the day, security is becoming more and more relevant every single day. There's no question about it. Just open a newspaper and take a look, and you see some sort of new breach that we need to protect ourselves against. And from our standpoint, this has resulted in an enormously growing business. We, in particular, a few years ago in 2011, were only doing about $3 million in revenue in cloud security. This year, not giving you any forecast, but call it plus or minus in the range of $250 million. So substantial growth in security during this last 4-year span. Now, we see other factors here that are driving some of this growth. For example, we see that the largest DDoS attacks here to date have been in the several hundred gigabit per second sort of range. But clearly, by the end of the decade, we expect that to be closer to the range of a terabit or more. We see substantial impact of malware on the overall cost and the financial loss of organizations. And you can imagine many that you know off the top of your heads. So what are we doing about this in security? Well, we have a 3-pronged strategy to attack this. First is the business that we're delivering against today, and then 2, really evolving areas or evolving businesses for us. The business that we deliver today is on the left side in web security. What we're doing there is we're essentially delivering against cloud-based DDoS, and we're delivering cloud-based web application firewall. So the web application firewall DDoS capabilities are built in to our Kona Site Defender and our Prolexic routed solutions that we have today. And rest assured that we're going to continue to be investing in those areas and in those solutions. But as we look forward, there's more and more value to all of you in data intelligence. And what we're doing there, we need to know who the attackers are, where they're coming from, whether they're in a static or dynamic IP address, are they in front of or behind a NAT, are they, for example, in the case of bots, are they good bots or bad bots? For example, good bots being an SEO or search engine where you want them to find you, bad bots perhaps being such as the ones Tom talked about yesterday, scraping your site for new prices and the like. And an ability to distinguish one versus the other, we can already distinguish up to 1,500 unique bots through some of our solutions. And then finally, we look to the far right in enterprise security. And this is a substantial opportunity for us, in my view, to take advantage of the Akamai platform in a new way. And this begins with our recursive DNS capability and then builds from there into adding new secure web gateway or other capabilities to allow you better and better protection, not of your content as a content provider, but rather of your end users. This will help protect against phishing, malware, command and control infrastructures that begin to attack your organization, all leveraging the Akamai platform, the Akamai cloud. You'll begin to see products in this area from us during 2016. So as we look at the overlay of the Security Operations Center, managing it all, we then look to the portfolio, and this portfolio that we've got essentially spans Kona Site Defender, Prolexic routed, but then includes the new data intelligence type services and enterprise security capabilities of Client Reputation, Bot Manager, and our threat protection solution in the enterprise security space. One last thing that should be top of mind for you. Not all DDoS solutions or WAF solutions are created equal. It is really important to understand how they work and how they're going to protect you. In our case, a few years back, we were roughly at the level of performance of the OWASP integration for the OWASP rule set. And we have then taken that over and dramatically improved and invested in our own rule set so that that's gotten better and better and better. And during this past few years, the result has been a 90% reduction in false positives and false negatives across the board to give you better solutions in security, much better solutions in security than you had before. Media delivery. We spent a lot of time yesterday on media delivery in Tom's session, but suffice it to say, the vast majority of that 34 terabits per second of peak traffic that we've now seen on our network that's going to continue to grow immeasurably as we look forward is going to be video. By definition, it is you have more streams, more people connecting, but on top of that, you have higher density of those streams requiring higher bandwidth. So the result of all of that is that more of the internet is going to be required to deliver video. In this statistic you see on the left, 80% of all IP traffic being video as we look forward, but also more 4K TVs, and of course, much, much greater video spending as it moves to over the top. So as we look at our core tenets in media or video overall, what we think of are really the following two. First is incredible quality at enormous scale. And that's sort of how I think about it. And you know, as Bill Wheaton, our general manager of our media team, and I get together and we look at it, we think we must get to multiple nines of performance in terms of overall quality and reliability, but we have to do it with tens and tens and tens of terabits per second, growing immeasurably. As we get through that, that is always top of mind as we develop our infrastructure in the platform and our product portfolio in media. Now on the right side, oh, by the way, on the left side, we've got to do that through creative means. It can't just be, back to my earlier comments, build more servers. It's got to be things like I'm using peer-to-peer, I'm driving client-assisted delivery, maybe I'm using multicast for live events. How can I get more communication, more capabilities at the edge to be able to deliver that video with the highest quality at the scale that's required? Now onto the right side. Over the last year, the industry, our industry in video has transformed itself wildly. But I believe that we have only just begun. We've only just begun. We are, I believe, right at the cusp of an enormous transition toward over-the-top video. And this is going to begin to grow, I believe, in momentum quite dramatically over the coming months and certainly over the coming years. And there are going to be several elements that are required for that. One of those elements is a 24/7 broadcast operations control center that is enabling us through beaconing and feedback from end user devices, homes, and so on, ongoing reliable data to enable us to alert on and process what's happening in our network all the way to the end user on an ongoing 24/7 basis. So that broadcast operations center, absolutely crucial to monitoring that, but you have to have the technology in place to be able to ensure that you have the data to analyze it, alert on it, process it, and of course manage it. And finally, the workflow aspect is just essential because you have these sort of 4 overall categories of what you need to do. And this is dramatically simplified. We could expand this to be even broader. But suffice it to say, we think about it in prepare, store, deliver, and then analyze. You have to, through our media services live and on-demand solutions, prepare the content. You then need to, of course, store it for delivery, which we can do in net storage. Delivery is where we do most of our work today. That's where you generate that 34 terabits per second. And of course, you need to analyze it so that you know precisely who's viewing it, what speeds were they at, where did they come from, et cetera. So that's sort of the workflow that we're talking about, of course, includes numerous other elements like, for example, ad insertion or captioning or DRM wrapping or a myriad of other things. So what I'd like to do next is I'd like to invite up to the stage Kit Knox, our Vice President of Engineering for our media team. Please join me in welcoming Kit to the stage.
Thanks, Rick.
Hello, how are you?
Doing great.
So back at the National Association of Broadcasters show in Vegas several months ago, we talked about a partnership with Adobe, and we were talking about ad insertion and ad scaler. So for many of the people in the audience, they probably know what that is, but many others don't. So give us a primer. What are we talking about here?
Absolutely. Our customers, many of you in the audience, you continue to communicate to us your pain points in bringing dynamic ad insertion into your video workflows. There's a lot of complexity. What we've done with this partnership is we've pre-integrated Adobe and their primetime product, including their TV SDK, which gives you a unified approach to cross-device playback that's ad monetized, and we pre-integrated that with Akamai's ad scaler product.
Got it. So if I do this build out, then what we're really talking about here is adding acceleration from Akamai with the ad scaler product, integrating that with primetime, and allowing for server-side ad insertion to really be a seamless experience.
Yes, we give the same treatment now to your video assets as well as the ads themselves, resulting in a seamless playback. These traditional approaches to both client-side and server-side, they've resulted in an inconsistent experience. So you may have the video stall before your ad starts. You may have a poor transition going between pre-roll, post-roll, any interstitials that you have. And in fact, for live events, it's the worst case scenario because these transitions, they happen all at the same time with all of your end users. So unfortunately, we've had entire events that go and fail because of these insertion technologies. So instead of making money, your event fails. So AdScaler works to address that problem. And we're also now compatible with our next generation client technology. So we can accelerate all of that content, giving you a consistent playback experience across both of these content types.
And what's the experience if this doesn't work? So if somebody, whether they're doing client-side ad insertion or using some other process, what's the end user experience and what happens?
I think we've all seen, video stall, rebuffer, unfortunately.
The sort of spinning wheel of death or rebuffering or whatever it might be.
Exactly. Not what you want for your video experience.
So in the interest of time, we didn't have time on this particular session to do a full demo, but we basically did a video of what that might have come out to be. Maybe you can cue that up for us and tell folks what they're going to see with the video that we're going to roll here in a minute.
So we've prepared an integrated approach on a mobile device that takes the TV SDK, combines it with AdScaler so that all the communication from that client is going through the Akamai platform and not disparate third parties, and brought in our client acceleration technology all into one unified approach. So if we roll that video, you guys can see what that user experience looks like now.
Great. Let's take a look.
Content consumption has never been higher, audiences have never been bigger, and with targeted advertising, brands are reaching their consumers like never before. But until now, no ad serving solution could effectively scale for these audience sizes. Buffering, content delays, and quality issues all compromise the user's experience, which means you're losing money. Enter Akamai. Using state-of-the-art acceleration technologies to drive up quality and eliminate buffering, viewers now watch for longer, allowing you more opportunities to monetize your content. Combined with Akamai's AdScaler, the unmatched power of the Akamai platform is in front of your ad insertion partner, ensuring the continuity of your content delivery strategy and scaling the highest quality video to any audience size.
So you can see we seamlessly transitioned from that exciting Red Bull content right into an Akamai ad, which hopefully you guys would just want to run in front of all of your content, and then back to the Red Bull content. So seamless experience.
Of course, the only problem is that if I were watching that Red Bull content that was that rich and really wanted to see that, and you inserted an Akamai ad, I'd have to go scream at somebody anyway.
We may have to work on our content type.
All right, that sounds good. Any other final comments? Is this available now, or how might people learn more about this?
Yeah, this is integrated, available today. In fact, if you go out to the pavilion, we've got demonstrations both that Adobe are running as well as in the Akamai Media Delivery kiosk out front. So go and check it out later today.
Fabulous. Thanks so much, Kit.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it. All right, Kit Knox. Okay. Cloud networking. So I'm going to go through the next couple of sections in a bit of a hurry so I can get to the open platform, and then we'll close out. So first, with regard to cloud networking, here's the way that I would say this. My view is that we are amidst a dramatic transformation of the enterprise network. And having come from Cisco for 8 years prior to the last 4 or 5 with Akamai, it's sort of very top of mind for me, the notion that the network, in many ways, in my view, will increasingly move to the cloud. And it's going to move to the cloud in a number of ways, but where we're starting to look at it is really with the branch. And that branch enables us to attack it in a couple of different ways. First is one tenant through the backhaul branch, which is what we're doing today with Cisco in our partnership with them. And secondly, through the direct connected branch. Now, in the backhaul branch, this essentially enables us to garner much more capacity from the existing infrastructure that exists in that branch topology today, whether it be expanding the effective capacity of an MPLS link or otherwise. So that is a solution that we have on the market today with Akamai Connect. Now, as we look to 2016, what really gets exciting is that this will evolve to also include direct internet access. You saw Pierre-Louis from Orange up with Tom yesterday talking about essentially optimized transport, accelerated VPN, which would supplement their MPLS capabilities to basically provide an extended architecture to allow acceleration with SLAs and a committed network infrastructure of a direct internet connection from the branch. And this is what we are calling the Akamai Cloud Connected Branch. And we are working very aggressively on this. And as we get to the middle of next year, you're going to hear a lot more about this from Akamai. So stay tuned, but very, very exciting as the first step, really, to evolving the enterprise network to be very inclusive of cloud-based solutions. And then finally, that fifth solution category of the network operator. There are really a couple of different solution sets that we have in here. First is out of our network operator business unit. That is focused on LCDN, licensed CDN, managed CDN solutions, and delivering those to carriers to operate and run, in many cases, or have us run for them, their own CDNs. This is also evolving, though, to include network function virtualization. And very similar to the comments I just made about cloud networking, this is the notion of essentially enabling more network functionality to exist in the cloud, and in this case, with carriers. So network function virtualization is a particular area of focus with us in our development efforts, working very, very seamlessly in this effort and this area with carriers. One other area that you'll start to hear more about from us is actually in a business unit we have now called the Emerging Mobile Business Unit. Heretofore, they've been focused mainly on the mobile carrier environment, where we now have a product called Watch Now. It's an application. It's usable by carriers, and they can actually use it to pre-position content. And by pre-position video content, you actually can evaluate what an end user might want, pre-populate that content, either over cellular with 0 rating or over Wi-Fi. They get up in the morning, maybe they go and get in the tube in London, not such great cellular connectivity, and they can play that video in 4K directly on that device. Also already has been pre-positioned the content that they might watch every single day. So imagine the benefit of having video at your fingertips, not using the cellular infrastructure in a particular way to get it, and to have it with exceptional experience. So these are, again, areas of core focus for us as we look to 2016. Now let me talk a little bit about control as really the last core focal point of my presentation today. And to address this, I'm going to have Corey Scobie come up and join me. Corey is our Vice President of our Open Platform and Product Experience. Corey Scobie. Hey, Corey, how are you?
Great, thank you.
So this is year 3 for you up on stage with me. So I must like you up here since you keep coming up. But Product Experience is a new part of your title. Did I do that?
Yeah, you did do that.
I did.
Yeah, so we've been listening to our customers.
Does that mean I no longer own it?
No, I think it means that you've delegated it in some way, shape, or form.
Okay, that's good.
So, but
delighted by that.
As you know, we've been listening to our customers. We've been listening to our customers talk about how we need to do a better job of making their life simpler, right? The day-to-day tasks that they execute simpler. Bob talked about feedback the other day. And so you decided that we should make somebody across the product portfolio actually responsible for doing that. And you decided it was me. So I guess that's now me.
Fantastic. That's great. Okay, so now if I replay the clock for everybody from last year, where we had a fancy video which showed the merging essentially of our Luna and Open efforts, basically it is this diagram. The notion that underlying it all is our intelligent platform. Sitting on top of that then, we're building an open API infrastructure, and then we're using that open API infrastructure or intend to provide that to third parties, but also then to use that for the development of our own Luna application. Do I have that still mostly right?
Absolutely.
Where are we in the journey?
Yeah, so where we are, so we've been working, as you know, we've been working for quite a while on that. There's 2 sort of core tenets that we still come back to as in terms of how we measure the metrics of the success of this overall. The first of those is around self-service. And obviously there's many metrics that we track, but one of the leading indicators is where we are in terms of property manager adoption and specifically how many self-service activations we see on the network on a regular basis. So if you go back to 2012, it actually predates me a little bit, but you go back to 2012, that's essentially ground zero. At Edge 2012, we talked about Property Manager. It launched in early 2013. At that point, we essentially had 0% Property Manager or self-service activations on the network. Fast forward to now, and I just had my team pull some stats for September, we're at now 81% of the activations on the network are self-service activations. So that means 360,000 activations have pushed to the network this year alone, and we still have another quarter to go.
Wow, so that means less engagement with our professional services team for changes that people really can make on their own.
Absolutely.
And to use our services team
using
really for
our
high
services
value
team
add.
for higher value things overall, right?
Excellent. So I see the stat on API calls as well.
Yeah. So the other
Maybe you can
stat,
talk about that.
The other stat that we track on a regular basis is how are we doing in terms of open API adoption, in particular, and API adoption across the platform. Right? We've been working hard to add to the portfolio of APIs and add to the functionality of APIs. And today we see roughly 2 million calls a day or per day going to our API platform, and that continues to grow at a linear rate as well. So we seem to be tracking well on that in terms of the overall adoption, and we can talk a little about where we are in the roadmap there.
Okay, great. So let's move on. That talks about self-service. That talks about APIs.
Yep.
Where are we on our timeline of journey here at the open platform?
So this is a designy version of a Gantt chart here, okay? And it actually has
It looks
some
quite
meaning.
empty, actually.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough.
It actually has some meaning. So we started, as you mentioned before, we started the Open Platform Initiative in 2013, right? That was formalizing our first developer-centric program and really starting to consolidate how we were creating and exposing APIs across the platform. So in that journey or in that period of time, we've been working hard, and in the various different milestones, I think last year I came up and said we had 30 APIs in the catalog. This year we have more than 40 APIs in the catalog. But fundamentally, the real milestone that we're driving towards is that we now see line of sight to sort of the end of the first generation of cloudifying the Akamai platform, which is that by the end of 2016, we'll have reached this milestone of saying, we have everything in API form that you can do in Luna. So there'll be sort of parity there, right? So it's going to take us a little while in the course of next year to kind of get to that milestone point, but we absolutely have line of sight, and it's a committed, sort of item for us to get to that point where anything you can do in Luna, you can do with an API.
So I think you have an example of one of the developers that's actually done something with this and been using the APIs overall. So maybe you can give us more detail on the example.
We talk all the time, and I think we talked last year on the stage about developer stories and, when are we going to have some developer stories? And so as sort of a proxy, I'm going to tell you a little story about one particular company that I think is an interesting story around API usage. Bazaar Voice, for those of you that don't know, Bazaar Voice is the world's largest network or platform for connecting consumers and products with real-time and authentic feedback. Okay, so they connect 500 million consumers to roughly, to something like thousands and thousands of products or thousands and thousands of retailers and tens of thousands of products. They do that online. They do that on desktops. They do that in-store, and they do that through mobile devices. And they do that using what they call real or authentic ratings and commentary on the products themselves. So the Bazaar Voice team, the engineering team there, had a really interesting challenge. They actually had to move. They were creating a new origin platform of their own, and they actually had to move more than 5,000 host names from their existing origin platform to their new origin platform. And in order to do that, they evaluated several options. One of them was obviously a manual maneuver, right? But that was time and cost prohibitive in terms of the amount of labor that would be involved. And so they turned, with a couple of resources, they turned to Property Manager, and using Pappy and the Property Manager API, plus some Python and other developer tools, they moved between 5,000 and 10,000 host names in the span of a couple of months successfully, not only from one origin to another, but also simultaneously from Config Manager to Property Manager, right? So now they have all the benefits of being in the self-service world with Property Manager as well. And so obviously it saved hundreds of hours of manual labor. They did it systematically, so it was more accurate than if they would have done it by hand. I think it's a simple story, but it's a great win for a customer that was able to use automation that frankly just didn't exist 2 or 3 years ago.
It's a great story. So bring us home. If the objective for 2016 is actually to get the open platform really largely wrapped up, that we have our first comprehensive instantiation of open that people can use to build their own portals or integrate into their own environment. Tell us a little bit about Luna, our app that's going to then ride on top of that open platform.
Yeah, so as you allude to, I mean, we've had this sort of layered approach, and we talked about it a little last year, but we've spent a lot of time and put a lot of investment in building a new platform for our own application development, akin to the platform characteristics that you were talking about earlier with our actual deployed platform in the network. We've built a modern, resilient, cloud-oriented sort of platform for application development. On top of that, as we worked through the Open Platform Initiative, we've been exposing APIs for every single function that exists in Luna. And that work's going to continue, and as I said, we'll be substantially complete with that by the end of 2016. So we're already looking forward to the next challenge. And getting back to the feedback item, we're already looking at how do we radically change the Luna user experience, right? We've heard the feedback from customers, which is that the tools that we provide, the UIs that we provide, don't necessarily align to the way that they do their work. And so we want to really engage now in sort of leveraging our own APIs to create a new Luna user experience that is substantially better than what we have today and takes advantage of course, all the platform and infrastructure capabilities that we've built out over the past couple of years.
Got it. So open up the platform, continue to deliver that through 16, and then ongoing development of Luna.
And just for the record, we're going to talk a little more and give some insights into the next-gen Luna project at our roadmap session later on today as well. So people that want to know more can...
Well done. You better get off the stage and get moving. You got a lot to do.
Yeah, very good.
All right, thanks, Corey. Thank you. Okay, we're basically there. I would, since Bob talked about it at length yesterday, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But I would be remiss to avoid thinking about our people at Akamai and really the teams collectively that we've put together with all of you to to suggest that that was a critical strategy for us as well. So, we obviously have people in services and support, consulting. Many of you started the week with Akamai University for training. We are increasingly providing managed services delivery. So guided delivery, managed Kona for our security area. So people are a core pillar of the strategy. So we really think about it as the continuum of platform, products, control, which we talked about through Luna and Open, and people. And it is that collective whole, those four elements, that really bring it all together. The breakout sessions that you see are the ones before you. Hopefully you can pick a couple of these and pick your favorites. Go to as many as you can. They are really invaluable in the amount of content that you'll have. All right, so that brings me to the end of my session. Just a couple of final thoughts. What I would say is that at Akamai, we love challenges. And if you hear Tom speak, he's always talking about our challenges, the grand challenges, and what we're going to achieve amidst a chaotic and truly rapidly developing world of the internet. Now, I'm sure that many of you have your own passions. As you know from perhaps many Edges, if you've seen me speak, one of my passions is cycling. And so if you permit me the 30 seconds of thoughts, my personal challenge on an annual basis is to usually take a bike over to France or over to Europe somewhere and go climb mountains. I just got back about a month ago from doing so through the French Alps, climbing such great climbs in the Tour de France as Alpe d'Huez and Galibier, and for those of you in the cycling world would perhaps know some of them. We rode from Turin, Italy, all the way to Nice this year. It is, for somebody who works just about full-time, this is an interesting set of challenges just to get to the top, but when you are going with 10 other guys who are racing you to the top and just wanting to hurt you, it is an immense challenge. And yet I love it. It is unbelievably fabulous. The challenges that we have at Akamai are no less challenging or no less difficult for us as we look forward, and yet the completion of them as we go through them jointly with you all, I think, deliver an amazing array of satisfying experiences when we see the results of engaging with our end customers, our end users, and delivering them the solutions that they love. So whether it is delivering a 4K video over a cellular network to a mobile device, some remote part of the world, or to deliver a web page instantly to that same mobile device, or to enable better security solutions that allow our end users and companies to be more protected or more comfortable in what they're creating, or to transform fundamentally network topologies of what the branch infrastructure might look like, or opening up the APIs and the open platform in a way that most people never thought we could do, let alone would do at Akamai. They're enormous challenges, but we are engaged, we're focused, and we're committed to delivering them. And I think one of the biggest challenges is actually helping you to grow your businesses, to do so securely, and to deliver exceptional experiences to end users. And that really drives our passion, I think, as a leadership team and a product team and what we're trying to provide to each of you. So with that, I want to thank you for your trust and commitment to Akamai. I'd like to thank you for being part of the Akamai family, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us here at Edge. Thank you very much.